Welcome to the AI-powered marketing show. Today, we have a remarkable guest, Carrolee Drummonds. With over 15 years of experience as a speaker, author, and content marketing consultant, Carrolee has collaborated with Fortune 500 companies, higher education institutions, and ambitious service providers, helping them boost brand awareness and secure consistent, qualified leads. She's the creator of the innovative Antisocial content marketing strategy, empowering service providers to create content that sparks meaningful conversations. Beyond her personal achievements, Carrolee is a dedicated community volunteer and a founder of the Care More initiative, providing creative and fundraising services to nonprofits. Please join me in welcoming to the AI-powered marketing show, Carrolee Drummonds. Everybody join me in welcoming Carrolee Drummonds to the show. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm looking forward to the conversation.
I am so excited to have you on. I did a lot of research in preparation for this, so much so that I had to cut stuff down just so I could keep it focused and direct and on point. So you just recently formed your own consulting group. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. So can you tell me a little bit about the vision behind that and, your journey to get to that point in forming your consulting group?
Sure. So I started as a freelancer it's actually over 15 years ago at this point. I started as a graphic designer, and I felt that's what I would be doing for the rest of my life. Once I left corporate, I wanted to design. But when I left corporate and went out on my own, I started getting all kinds of questions about, like, can you do websites? Can you do SEO? Can you do all these things? And of course, I said yes, which led me to partner with other folks who could actually do that work. I went from freelancing into being an agency owner and having an internal team after realizing that I kind of wanted to control the quality of what I was getting a lot more. I wanted to actually cultivate that talent in-house and be kind of like a creative director. However, what I was noticing as we were working with business owners, especially service-based businesses, is that they were so focused on needing a new website. Okay, I need to be on social media. But the foundation was rocky, sometimes non-existent. And we just didn't have the amount of time that they would need to take, some TLC with the foundation of their messaging, sometimes, a lot of times. With the foundation of, like, who are you actually serving? What do you actually provide for people? Not just the service that you do. What are you actually providing? There were all of these conversations that we would try to have in the middle of our strategy session, but there was always just more. And so after a few years of being in the agency world and realizing that I wanted to be just a bit more involved in the marketing strategy, specifically around content marketing, because I realized that is the future. It's already here, but it's going to change so much. And I do believe small businesses are going to get left behind. So at this point, I started this consultancy because I genuinely want to give back to service-based businesses who are kind of the hands and feet of our economy, and help them to create foundational basics for their business as it relates to marketing, so that they can scale to be, obviously, a bigger player in whatever industry they're in. So hopefully that kind of explains the journey in a much more succinct way, because it wasn't that. Of course, life is life.
It never is. You said my favorite word, and that's freelancer, because that's how I started. I started as a freelancer. I did I didn't do website design. I did funnel design. So And I remember all those conversations with people as I formed my agency and I started doing stuff that, we really couldn't dig into, like the foundational stuff, like the core stuff, like, who are you and what are you about and what's your message and what's your mission? And that to me, once, I started getting into that, I started to move away from the freelancing and more focusing on how to develop the message. So I can so relate to that. You have an interesting concept that I think is like so cool and a twist on branding, and that is antisocial marketing. First of all, I love the title of it. It's like it has some connotations. Am I getting is that the vibe behind that? It's like antisocial.
Yeah. I'm not trying to confuse people, but it is one of those phrases that when you say it, people could kind of get multiple meanings, and it means all of that, right? When you think of antisocial, someone who's kind of like, I don't really want to be out there like that, right?
Mhm.
And frankly, that's a lot of businesses where they're kind of not fully invested in being online. They're kind of, sort of, kind of, but not really there. They're posting and ghosting. But really what antisocial content marketing is, as I've coined it, is strategies that you will have outside of social media as a service-based business that is going to bolster you when you do use social. I think a lot of business owners are, they've fallen into the trap of, okay, I posted once today, I marketed my business, check, and they're done, right?
I can
And
relate.
yeah, and so it's just kind of like a challenge of like, okay, how else can we really utilize all these other channels to market our business? One of the things that I have fallen in love with is podcasting. I have my own podcast, but
Mhm.
I love going on other podcasts because I get to have connections with not only the host, but everyone else who's going to be listening. So they're introduced to me without me having to create my own visuals, this is all kind of automated content, if you will,
Mhm.
from this conversation. And as a new-ish business, this is the way that we're launching. I'm probably going to be doing 30 of these, right? And it helps with SEO. It helps with all these things. And if small businesses don't realize, hey, I can utilize the stuff that feels kind of over my head with just a pitch, because that's how I did it here. Is, hey, I would love to be on your podcast.
Yeah,
Uh,
I thought that was great, and I've been a YouTuber for years, but I like this medium so much more because I get to have conversations with people, and I get to learn because I come from a direct response marketing background, very, very different from brand marketing.
mhm.
And I'm learning more and more about branding and how much I love it and how much I need to do more of it. Um, you talk about taking like a very holistic approach
Yeah,
to marketing. Why don't you talk a little bit more about that?
sure. I think one of the things that I love, and it obviously I didn't have any say about when I was born, but I think being my age, I remember what it's like to not have social media in your life. I remember like when I was learning marketing, I was learning it pre-social media being the thing. And so my marketing background is how I gritted my teeth, even in kind of learning graphic design and branding, and theory behind all of that was not connected to social media. And then social media became this huge thing that I had to learn because, of course, I'm young and everyone's like, well, of course, you know, social media, right? So I've learned just by nature, just when I was born, how to use traditional marketing channels as well as social media and combining those two. It's not revolutionary what I'm saying. I think it's unfortunate that you've had people either completely shut out social media and they're just kind of trying to do organic local work. And then others who are just like, all of it is on social media and they're not really doing anything else. When I say holistic, I mean, really, frankly, making sure that your marketing is touching multiple channels, that you are making sure that you're on podcasts, that you have a mailing list that you're consistently connecting with, that you are using social media in a meaningful way, that you are keeping up with your blog on your website, and it's not like the first 3 that was on there when you first, launched the site. It's all of those things that we know that we're supposed to do, but a lot of times, social media, you talk about the direct response piece, it's this thing that we can, okay, yeah, I can check that off. I can see, 5 people like my post, yay. Okay. And there is this almost false sense of immediate gratification that you're done. So the holistic part is just pulling back a little bit from what has become normal, and remember that there's so many ways to attract and to, frankly, engage folks that are not in that one space.
You'll probably agree with me. Repurposing. I preach on my podcast all the time. Repurpose, because you've got the content already. Use it. Now, do you like, a lot of times I'll take transcripts from my podcast and use them to create blog posts. Do you do kind of the same thing?
Absolutely. That's actually one of the main parts of the antisocial content strategy, because I'm lazy. I have a business to run. I do not want to spend, my entire life trying to create content. And I think that's the other piece of this is when I teach social media, I'm not teaching it because I love it. It's a necessary evil, honestly. Quote me on that. But it's necessary. And so what do you do when something's necessary, but you're kind of like, you find ways to make it easy. One of those ways is, okay, you have this podcast, right? What my team and I are going to do once this launches, we'll have the video. Yes. But we'll also have the audio. We can strip that and it can be its own thing, right? There are things I'm talking about here about the antisocial content strategy that I can then pull into a blog post. I can pull into pieces for advertising for an upcoming webinar about the same topic. There's so many ways to use just one piece of content. So like, my advice is make sure that you are tracking what is working, and what is working is not always just what piece of content was liked the most. I think a lot of times people think, okay, a bunch of people like that post, great. This might be controversial, but for me, the pieces of content that you should make sure that you are repurposing in different ways are the pieces of content that got you the engagement that makes a difference to your bank account. Meaning, a piece of content that one person responded as a DM that said, hey, I just read that thing that you wrote. I'd love to kind of sit with you and pick your brain, right? I'm going to take that piece of content over the one that has the 20 likes and nothing else, no comments, no, just liked it, because it could have been a picture with you and your kids. Who's not going to like that? Right? So be mindful of it's not just this kind of wholesale, okay, yeah, this one had the most likes, let me try to figure out how to repurpose that. No. So you have to be just mindful about how you choose, and we call them KPIs. Whatever your KPIs are, be mindful how you're choosing those, and then make sure that you're repurposing things on a consistent basis, because people aren't paying that much attention as you think they are.
Yeah. A question just popped in my head, and I know exactly how you're going to answer this, but one of the things that I try to do with my clients is I'll ask them, who's your buyer persona? What's their name? Like, when I set up a buyer persona for my website, she has a name. I know her pain points. I know where she lives. I know what she reads. How often when you ask, I've asked clients, so who's your buyer persona? And they're like, buyer persona? What's that? Like, how often do you find that you have to work with people on building out who their persona is and who they serve?
every single time.
Yes.
And I'm not saying that to be funny. Like it's a core part of my consulting sessions. So typically, our sessions run from a minimum of 4, and that's just really me going in and taking off the hood a little bit and getting into the dirt with you, into the mud. After that 4 or 5 sessions, then you can kind of decide, okay, we've gotten the kind of foundational set, let's go on. But typically within those 4, it is always, hey, so I think this is who we serve, or it's, I'm super confident this is who we serve. And I'm like, okay, great. Let's talk about your offer. And then the offer has nothing to do with the person that I'm like, so then who are you actually serving? Who do you want to serve?
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm talk about pricing. And then you're like, well, if you're saying you're serving this population, but you're pricing it here, and the average, salary for someone who is working and doing this is up here, then your offer is never going to actually be ideal for this person. So then it throws everything off, and we have to go right back to like, okay, who do you actually serve? So it's every single time.
Do you use like I've developed a framework where, I go through, we're going to build out your avatar. We're going to, look at, your before and after matrix. Like this is the where they are now. This is where they go. Because I learned a long time ago, if you don't know who you're marketing to no one.
I couldn't agree with that more. And one of the things that I've actually learned being a business owner, because it's one thing when I was working in corporate and working in marketing in this bigger, spaces, it was almost like you never got a chance to speak directly to a customer, right? And it was like we were operating as if we just kind of knew. And as a small business owner, I think I just got into the space of like, I don't want to guess anymore. I don't want to make generic messaging anymore. I want to be specific. And so what we decided to do, and what I've worked with several people to do, is listening and actually going out there and sending awkward messages to ideal clients to say, hey, I would love to ask you, just a few questions about what are you currently, facing right now as challenges. When you listen to people, they will tell you exactly how they want to be helped. And so then you don't have to guess, and you don't have to be general. Matter of fact, you can use the exact same language that you're getting from all of the folks that have told you, hey, I'm tired. I'm overworked. I don't have the time. I don't get the resources. My boss is super focused on sales, and we don't really focus on brand building. So these are all things that I've heard from folks that are our ideal clients. And so my messaging in the program I've built, everything around is how to do it quickly, how to be efficient at it, how to use different channels, how to repurpose, right? It's all of those things connected to who your ideal clients are. And that is a huge piece of this, is listening, not just kind of thinking about, okay, well, I think her name is Beth and she drives a Ferrari, and what, you know what I mean? Go out and actually, get the answers so that you can build an offer that's actually going to solve problems and not just be like a maybe solution.
Yeah, you really raised an interesting point about offer creation. Having concrete understanding of your avatar goes a long way towards creating your offer, because your offer is going to resonate with that avatar. And I've seen so many businesses that are like, we don't worry about, who our avatar is. This is our offer.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, well, why do you need me then? Why do you need me then if that's the case? You have another framework that I've been reading about, and I think it's pretty interesting. It's your GROW framework. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So GROW is an acronym. It stands for gain, retain, optimize, and wow. And it's pretty much the process that you take, whether you're talking about the funnel or the upside down, or how that we flipped it now for marketing, whichever direction the triangle goes.
Yes.
you're,
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
right. It's still kind of thinking through the folks at the top, AKA most of the folks don't know who you are. So you want to gain attention. You want to grow in your authority in your space. You want for people to find you. This is all a content marketing, framework. So when people find you, they're obviously around. Now they're liking your stuff. They're engaging with you in some way. Like, what do you do then? How do you get them off of social media and onto platforms that you control, whether that's building a community or, again, moving folks to your email list so you can sell to them whenever and however you want to. That is the retain piece. The optimize is like, okay, when you figure out what actually works, like, run that up, do it over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, because that's how you get to scale. Do not forget, though, and this is why the W was important to me, a lot of people are focused on acquisition a lot. I was in sales for years, and I cannot tell you how much, CEOs were focused, and they were like beating down your back, getting new clients, getting new leads. How many new leads do you have? And there was almost no attention given to retention, to having the people that are already there, be so joyed by the way that you're serving them that they're going to go out and talk to people. They're going to go out and post about your business. They're going to go out and help you kind of bring people into that community. That is the wow part. So the GROW framework is a content marketing framework for folks that want to go beyond just posting on social media.
So what kind of tools are you using for the GROW piece in terms of like content creation and research and things like that?
Hey, digital marketers, entrepreneurs, and tech enthusiasts. Ready to elevate your AI game? Check out the AI-Powered Marketer newsletter from Keith Bell, host of the AI-Powered Marketing Show. The AI-Powered Marketer newsletter is your go-to resource, packed with actionable insights, cutting-edge tools, and the latest news in AI and digital marketing. Whether you're optimizing sales funnels, exploring new AI strategies, or staying ahead of industry trends, this newsletter has you covered. Don't miss out on the chance to supercharge your marketing efforts. Subscribe now. Just click the link in the show notes to sign up today, and remember, the future of marketing is here and it's powered by AI. See you in the newsletter.
I've used tools from free to, I would say, overpriced, but I probably shouldn't say that out loud in public. So from like Buffer, which is like a social media scheduler, and Social Pilot, which ended up being my favorite as an agency, because we were able to get our clients to look at the content the way that it was going to be presented. Eventually, we started using Go High Level for that, and it offers the same thing, plus a bunch of other pieces on there. As far as research goes, I used SEMrush.
Outstanding tool.
Yes.
Are you doing a lot of like keyword-driven content? Okay.
Yeah. Especially for the work that we do with our SEO partners, we do a lot of blog creation, and so that's a huge help for both doing some pre-project analysis of what's happening, what's working, what's not. Oftentimes, it's a lot that's not working that we need to kind of figure out, and so through looking at competition, looking at ideals, right? This is what we want to rank for. This is what we want to do. Then we'll go in and be able to kind of create content from there. But it really depends on what your budget is. SEMrush is not cheap.
No, I know.
And neither is Social Pilot. It's $100 as a base.
I use a product called Social Champ.
Oh, I've never heard of that.
They're a social media platform that you can, I think I can manage up to 10 channels on there.
Fantastic.
So you'll have to check that out, Social Champ.
Yeah. I mean, I've since kind of backed away from all things social media management as a service, and internally we use Go High Level for our scheduler, because again, it has all kinds of other stuff that comes with it too. So I've solved that piece. But for research, I mean, nothing still beats, Google Alerts and different things of that sort.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always trying to keep my, fingers on the pulse, especially if I'm working with a company, for instance, a commercial HVAC company. I don't know anything about commercial HVAC. So if I can get myself to be somewhat okay, as far as understanding what's happening in the industry, it'd be great. But honestly, the biggest thing I've learned is to trust people over just kind of random information on the internet. What I mean by that is when I do research as it relates to writing, I ask people, hey, can I grab 15, 20 minutes of your, engineer's time? And we'll geek out for a 30-minute period where they'll talk to me about what's new in the industry, what websites I should be visiting, what are some of the things that are coming down as it relates to, laws or anything that's going to really impact the industry. That's how I've learned, is through just talking to people. We have come to this place where we're depending all on, the internet. I get it. But there's so much to be, brought from just having conversation with people. But as far as tools go, that I'm a huge proponent for AI, kind of. And when I say kind of, I mean AI for content ideation, not creation, in the sense of just like plugging it up and putting it somewhere else. But it's been a huge help for me to speed up all of the work that we do. So Claude.ai is what I've used, but I've also used, oh my goodness, I'm drawing a blank. Everyone else, ChatGPT, but there was another one that we were using for a while, and I moved away from it to use Claude.
Yeah,
now,
there's Meta, Gemini, Claude,
Writer. That's what it was.
Writer.
Writer.
Yeah, Writer's good. Well, since we're talking about AI, my favorite subject, I'm going to tell you about a tool that you should try for content research. Perplexity. Perplexity.ai. Have you seen it?
No.
So Perplexity is almost like a search engine type platform. And I used it to look you up. And it told me everything. And it has follow-up questions that you can ask. And I use it for content ideation and for, for research and for like when I'm doing podcast episodes, when I'm going to talk about a particular subject. So you're the second person, actually the third person that has talked about, I'm not quite sure about AI yet, because what were some of the things that held you back from exploring using AI? What were some of your concerns?
I think when I'm going to bring it back a little bit. Before Canva came out, you have to remember I'm a graphic designer by training.
Love Canva, by the way.
I had mixed feelings because when it first came out, everyone was just like, well, graphic design is dead. There's no need to hire a graphic designer anymore. You can get a logo in 5 minutes on Canva, right? And that was the whole thing. And for like literally 10 minutes, maybe not 10 minutes, but I was like, oh, okay, what does this mean for my business, at the time? And eventually, I think we can all understand Canva is a phenomenal tool, but you absolutely can tell when a design was done in Canva. And in a lot of ways, it's judged as not professional, at least not to the same level that something that was clearly done, by a professional designer. Like, have
you tried Visme yet?
Yes, I've tried it. It's not, yeah.
I tried it. I was like, because I do a lot of graphic design for my clients as well, and I totally get that. Like, you can tell when something's AI manufactured, or it's just crap thrown together.
Exactly. So that's what I mean by, that's the analogy I wanted to use here, where I'm a writer. I got my undergraduate degree in communications, and I've been a storyteller my whole life. I'm a poet, all the things. And so when I heard of ChatGPT a few years back, and I started trying it, I was like, okay, this is terrible. As far as just like what was coming out. And so I was like, okay, you know, I will not use this for anything writing related. I'll use it for some other things. But as the last few years have kind of, you know, gone down, they've gotten a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
It's a different quality of writing now. I am still in the space of, I'm a better writer organically than this thing could ever be for now. And so I take what it gives me and then I massage it with my own voice and tone. I'm well aware, though, that most people are not writers. They're not good writers, right? And so there is a temptation to be like, well, this thing just spat out this awesome sounding piece of content. I should use it. I'm always a proponent for the human touch. Always. I don't know, since you did your research on me, that you saw that I worked at MIT.
Yep.
I worked in their computer science and artificial intelligence lab. Really long way to say CSAIL. And a lot of the things that I learned about working there, which was like 7 or 8 years ago at this point, have now come into like the public understanding. And I think because I now know that if it took that long for everyone else to be aware it's coming, what they're currently working on is insane. And I want to make sure that humans remember that we are the arbiters of our own stories. That these are tools that we use. They don't become us. They don't use us. We use them. What I mean by that is, this is going to sound really blunt, but it is what it is. I'm a very straightforward person. I believe, much like Canva, this situation with ChatGPT has led to people not taking the time to learn pretty essential skills. And we will see the impact of that as generations continue. I'm old enough to remember when you had to, you know, write your own papers and go to the library and find the books and, you know, get the references. And if you didn't write down what the name of the book was or the page you found, good luck. You have to go, it wasn't. And these are valuable skills to research, to understand. And to me, as a content marketer, to storytell. As a business owner, you need to be the person or the people, you know, owners that is coming up with what your story is, not a machine. It can help you massage it and have it sound, you know, more polished, whatever you want to call it, cool. But the essence of it has to be, or it should be, I will say, human. I'm a firm believer in that. I'm a huge proponent of that. And because of, again, my background, I will shout it from the mountaintops because I understand that there are people in this world who do see robots eventually kind of integrating into everything that we do in our lives. And so we have to be mindful to continue to keep humans at the center of our existence.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more, because one of the things I talk about constantly on my podcast is that at the end of the day, the people that we are marketing to are human beings. They're the ones that take out their purse, their wallet, their credit card. They're the ones that buy. They're the ones that make the decision. You know, I use AI a ton, okay? but I'm always mindful of the fact that it's got biases in it.
Mm-hmm.
I just did a 3-part series on bias.
Mm-hmm.
It's got limitations.
Mm-hmm.
It's got things like ghosting, but you have to, you have to have those core evergreen skills
Mm-hmm.
to be a good, effective marketer. And for me, digital marketing.
Mm-hmm.
If you're gonna, it's great. ChatGPT is great, but if you don't understand the foundational principles behind why you're doing what you're doing, you're wasting your time.
And you're making yourself replaceable. I think one of the things I learned about Canva is it absolutely replaced people, but it replaced the people that weren't great to begin with.
Right.
You know what I mean? If you're kind of, and I hate to say it the way that it is, if you're kind of middle of the road, mediocre, like I kind of, then yeah, you probably got replaced. And unfortunately, it's just going to keep happening in every industry. There are going to be innovations across the board, and already has. There's so many industries, fintech, there's so many industries that are being, transformed by technology. And it's not just, removing jobs just for the sake of it. They're really looking at what jobs, what level of execution can we have a robot or some kind of artificial intelligence do that a human can do, but it would cost more money, et cetera, et cetera. How do you then, as a marketer, as a service provider, anyone, make sure that you are upskilling yourself enough to where you are able to show, hey, I can use this technology to get you more money, to get you whatever the ideal goal is, versus you become a victim to that innovation. That was the scary part that pushed me to like, hey, you need to learn this.
Yeah, it's hopefully you've gotten a chance to listen to some of my podcast episodes, and they've helped a little bit. I'm not an expert on AI. The approach I take to it is I was a police officer and a police detective for 15 years. I am investigating how AI works and sharing what I find out with my audience. That's kind of the approach I take. But I wanted, you talked about storytelling. I have recently developed a real interest in storytelling. I actually just did a 3-part series on storytelling in the last 3 days. How important is like storytelling in brand marketing and marketing in general?
I might be biased about this. Clearly, I am. It's everything. Someone said, numbers tell, stories sell. And it's the most kind of basic way of expressing this. I am, everything about who I am is tied to a story, either a story I've told myself or a story that the world has told me about myself. Frankly, a lot of our identities is based upon stories that we've heard and internalized and called it an identity. And so a lot of it, when it comes to brand building, it's the stories that people tell about your business or your service when you're not around.
Right.
When you have no control as to what they say or do, what are these people saying to their other coworkers? What are they saying to their family, their friends, etc.? It's really a huge part of who we are as a people, not just as Americans, but I would argue around the world. Storytelling is an integral part of how we engage with each other. And so if you can become a really good storyteller, and it's something that it's just kind of naturally happened in my life, then I believe that you have the power to do a whole world of good if you're able to capture what's happening in stories. And yeah, I can't say enough about the importance of it.
How much has you said you're a poet as well? How much do the two like storytelling and being a poet, because you can tell a great story with poetry.
Mm-hmm.
How much do those two relate?
I mean, so much. I think one of the reasons why I loved and still love poetry is because it is finding the most interesting way to, at times, say the most mundane thing ever, right? You can say he walked down the street, or you can say he, glided, whatever, and then you're giving life and energy and a meaning to something, right? And that's what poetry is. That's why it moves people so much. When we think of poetry in motion, whether that goes into dancing or into music, we are moved by those things. And so absolutely they're tied. And I definitely believe if you can find a way to make your messaging feel poetic, to feel deep, like have it be a deep connection to your ideal client, you're golden. Which is why I talked earlier about talking to these people, because they will tell you what story they would probably want to hear, or that would move them to action. Right.
So, a question just popped into my head here. How much has podcasting helped with your ability to listen? Because I found that as I've done more and more podcast episodes, now mine's mainly monologue, but when I'm doing the interviews, I have to really focus on listening.
To be honest with you, the biggest influence on listening for me has been in the agency world. And it's actually one of the things that we heard a lot of when we asked for feedback. It was like, you guys listen to us. We didn't have a lot of time to figure out what was going on. So I had to listen intently. I needed to make sure we were going to be the right fit. They were going to be the right client. So I listened for things to hear things, but I also listened to like what I'm not hearing, right? I listened to not just what you were saying, but I'm looking and I'm picking up on your body language. And I'm under like all of those things to the point where I could tell, my business partner at the time, this person is going to be a difficult client. She's like, really? What do you mean? I was like, this. She's like, you got all that from like the 30-minute meeting we just had? I'm like, yes, because I listened to what she said. And I also looked at her body language. She was defensive, right? And like all of these things, it's a huge part of that. So podcasting for me was a great way to understand people better, because as you're doing now, you're just allowing someone to kind of speak, and through them speaking, you understand them better. But as far as like constructive listening, is what I like to call it, I learned that best in the agency world.
Yeah, I learned that skill from 14 years in interview rooms with criminal suspects.
Oh my goodness, I can imagine those stories.
A little bit different, but I have so enjoyed talking to you. You have been a phenomenal guest, and like I could probably talk to you for about another 2 hours. Because I love learning, and I think you bring so much to the table, and I really thank you for coming on to the show. I want to end by letting you've got a couple minutes here to tell us your message and what you're trying to do, and I'm going to turn it over to you.
Sure. So there are several different ways that you can connect with me. Most obvious is through social media. I'm mostly on LinkedIn. You can find me by my full name, Carrolee Moore Drummonds, there. However, I'm super excited to start to kind of take a bit more specific approach to talking to service-based businesses. And so I offer 1-hour consulting. So if kind of similar to this, or you just have one particular issue that you want to go deep into for an hour, we can do that. I have VIP days where it's pretty much that on steroids. We sit down for quite a few hours, probably four or so. And then by the end of that, I create templates, guides, a pretty much comprehensive plan for you to take, for you yourself or your team to execute. And then there is the done for you option where I come in and become a part of your team, or frankly, in some cases, your entire team to work with you. If none of those are even on your radar right now, we are developing something I'm super excited about. It's a quiz. It's a antisocial content marketing quiz where you can take the quiz and basically see where the gaps are in your business right now as far as just marketing outside of social media. And I'm excited for that because I think more people will be like, wow, we're really not doing that much outside of social media. We need to change that, right? So even if you don't hire us, totally fine. But that quiz will be out very, very soon. So if you can connect with me on socials, you'll definitely see that pop up, and you'll be able to at least know where you're standing in your business, with or without me.
Great. Well, thank you so much for being on. I appreciate your being here today. Thank you for tuning in to the AI-Powered Marketing Show, hosted by yours truly, Keith Bell. We hope you found today's episode insightful and full of actionable tips to power up your marketing strategies with AI. Don't forget to visit the website at funnellosophy.com. There you'll find links to our podcast website, as well as a subscription link to the AI-Powered Marketer newsletter. Here on our newsletter, you can stay ahead of the curve with the latest trends, tools, and tips delivered straight to your inbox. We'd love to connect with you on social media. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Join our community of like-minded marketers. Come on by and say hello. Get behind the scenes content, join the conversation, and never miss an update. Until next time, keep innovating, keep iterating, and stay ahead of the curve with the power of AI in your digital marketing efforts. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you in the next episode of the AI-Powered Marketing Show. Take care.